Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. If I'm audible, please do type S in the chat. Oh, okay, well, guys, in our previous class, we did realize that Hilbert transform of any signal x of t is given in terms of x of t convolved with h of t, and we do all know convolution operation. So, how do we represent convolution operation? So, do we have you might have studied that in your signals and system course. So, convolution between any two signals like x of t convolved with h of t, and if that is equal to some other signal y of t, let's say we are taking some output signal y of t to be equal to y of t. Now here what we'll do is convolution mathematically is given as, so integration starting from negative infinity to positive infinity. So here what we'll do is we'll keep one signal as it is. We'll keep one signal as it is. And what we'll do with the other signal is we'll first write the other signal. We will write the signal as it is, but the only thing is we'll write it in terms of tau. So right now, instead of using this t, we'll make use of this term tau. Let's assume that this h of t is an unit step function. So this is step number one. Step number two is, so this is h of t, h of tau. The next step is to flip this signal. So in order to flip this entire signal, what we'll do is all I got to do is associate negative sign with this. I got to associate negative sign with the tau. So just by doing this, we'll be considering, so the entire thing flips vertically. The entire thing flips vertically. And step number three is to shift this signal, Right now, this signal is, let's say, starting at some reference point 0. Now, what we'll do is we'll shift this 0 to a point. Shift to a point where output is required, is required. And at what value of time are we supposed to do that? So the value of time is t. So right now we got to, instead of using this as 0, I'll shift it. I'll shift this entire signal to a point such that now the reference point or the signal starts from point t, not 0. So in fact, I can rewrite this h of minus tau as h of. So now the additional value that I'm supposed to write here is t. So because my entire signal is starting at t, so t followed by minus, then followed by tau. So in fact, here within the integration symbol starting from negative infinity to positive infinity, the signal that which I have kept as constant, I'll write it as x of tau whole divided, so not divided by, sorry, so x of tau into h of t minus tau, h of t minus tau d tau, and this is equal to y of t. So here the second part of the signal, that I've written over here, this h of t minus tau. So this is this signal, this is this signal. So this, and over here it involves three different steps. All I got to do is keep one signal as it is constant, and then I got to vary the other signal. So in what all ways are we supposed to vary the other signal? Step one is to write the signal as it is in terms, but in terms of what? Tau, followed by take negative tau, that is flip it vertically, then shift that signal to a point where output is required. So where exactly output is required? Output is required at t. So thereby the other waveform changes to h of t minus tau. So this is our second term. This is our second term, and this is our first signal, and second signal. And what we'll do with the other signal? We will start to varying it. So here we'll start to varying it starting from negative infinity to positive infinity. And only at regions where these two signals get overlap, will get our output signal y of t. So this is convolution. The thing is, you have already studied all these things. Only thing is, I'm trying to brush it up. So this is convolution. Convolution operation. Okay, well. So this is convolution. And by now in our previous class, we did got to know that the Hilbert transform impulse response, because this is a system, so it has to be associated with an impulse response. So it's impulse response that which was indicated by h of t. And in our previous class, we did got to know that it's equal to 1 by pi t. So h of t is as good as what? 1 by pi t. So here what we'll do is we'll keep one signal as it is, that is constant. So here, back here, we have kept this signal as it is. Only thing is we have changed this t to tau here. You can see that I have written x of tau. And the other signal that I'm having, so this is the other signal. This is the first signal. This is the other signal. And what should I do with the other signal? I should first replace. So here pi is anyhow, this is constant. Only thing that which is changing is t. So the very first step was to do what? Replace t with tau. So here first so let me rewrite this 1 by t as it is. Step number 1 is to replace t with tau. So we'll rewrite it as t with tau. Followed by second step is to assign negative sign with that of tau. So that's our second step. So in our second step, let me replace this tau with negative tau. Step number 3. So what's step number 3? I got to shift this second signal to a point where output is required. And where exactly output is required? At t. So in step number 3, I'll replace this with, I'll add one more term over here, that is t minus tau. So finally we ended up with this t minus tau. Anyhow this pi is constant, so we'll take it outside of integration. So on a whole, Hilbert transform of any signal s cap of t is given as 1 by pi integration negative infinity to positive infinity x of tau by t minus tau d tau. So this is the formula to calculate Hilbert transform in time domain. So likewise, this is Hilbert transform. If I were to calculate, if I were to get the actual signal from Hilbert transform signal, what we'll do is we'll take inverse Hilbert transform. Similar to that of Fourier transform has its own inverse Fourier transform. Here, Hilbert transform also has its own inverse. On the counterpart, it also has its inverse Hilbert transform, and it's given as x of t in turn equal to 1 by pi integration negative infinity to positive infinity x cap of tau divided by t minus tau d tau. So this is inverse Hilbert transform formula. And to this Hilbert transform, if I apply Fourier transform, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this entire equation go through this Fourier transform such that time domain gets converted to frequency domain, such that things that which were in time domain gets converted to frequency domain. And here we'll replace small letter. So just to differentiate between time domain and frequency domain, we'll associate all the alphabets over here in small caps, whereas in frequency domain, to write frequency domain signals, we'll make use of capital letters over here. So here capital X cap of f is in turn equal to capital X of f, and here convolution operation is replaced by multiplication operation in frequency domain. So this equation will get this equation, and over here this h of f, this h of f we have already seen in our previous class that this is as good as negative j signum function of f, negative j signum function of f, that which we have written over here. So this is h of f, and thereby this h of f, by definition we already know that it should multiply, or it looks like this. So let me change the color of the ink that I'm using. So h of f can be written as, so if this is h of f, so where this is the frequency axis and this is the amplitude part. So this h of f, we all know that it's associated with amplitude value j. So let me consider only the amplitude part. So we all know that it's associated with amplitude value j. But the only thing is this amplitude part changes its behavior depending upon the signum function. And we all know how exactly signum function looks like. So signum function of f gives positive, has amplitude value +1 for frequency greater than 0 and -1 for frequency value lesser than 0. So this is signum function. But here we do also have negative sign associated with the signum function. So the entire thing flips. So the entire thing flips over here. So here, because of this negative sign, this entire signal flips. So because of this negative sign, the entire signal flips around such that we'll have +1 amplitude associated with for negative frequency values and -1 associated for positive frequency values. So this is happening only because of this negative sign. So negative signum of f, and here if I associate j to this, if I multiply j to this, So here, just by considering J, screen has not changed. Older one is displaying. 4J and 18T006 is the same condition prevailing.
Yes, sir.
Now, what screen is available here?
Convolution operation screen.
Oh, just a minute. Just a minute. Now, is the PDF visible, guys? Is the PDF visible right now? Okay, well, okay, well. Okay, well. Let's continue then. Now here, just by associating amplitude value J over here, we'll get it as positive J here and here negative J. So negative J signum function is something that which multiplies negative frequencies with positive J and for positive frequencies with negative J. So here, so these two are nothing but the same because h of f, we have seen that h of f is as good as what? Negative J signum of f. So here I'll have positive J for negative frequency and negative J for positive frequencies. So the same thing we have written in terms of equation over here. Same thing. Whatever we have written graphically, the thing we are trying to represent it in terms of equation. That's it. So h of f is a function such that for in what way does it behaves? So for frequencies, that is for positive frequencies, where is the positive frequency starting from? So positive frequency is over here. So this is positive frequency. For positive frequency, what's the amplitude value? It's equal to negative J. So that is written over here. Or so positive frequency, or I can also rewrite it as f greater than 0. So this in turn means for positive frequency. And for f equal to 0, so when frequency is equal to 0, you can see that this thing is overlaying on this y-axis, or in other words, its amplitude value is equal to 0. In other words, its amplitude value is equal to 0. And for frequency values that which are lesser than 0, so that's on to my left hand side of this. So here, so for f lesser than 0, what's the amplitude value here? The amplitude value is positive J. The same thing we have written in terms of equation. That's it. Negative frequency. So the signum function is given by. So anyhow, we started off from with this signum function itself. So h of f is as good as negative J signum of f. Okay, well. Okay, now what we are trying to do is we know that h of f is equal to negative J signum function of f. Now if I apply modulus operator, now if I write modulus operator to this, what happens? So we all know that if I'm having negative quantity, some negative value, and if I apply modulus sign onto that, so even though it's a negative value, it changes to positive. So this is what a modulus operator does. So, and hence for this equation also, just by applying this h of f, so earlier it had some negative value, so right now it should change to positive value. So here it will be equal to signum of f. And again, here signum function, if I write signum function, so signum function was behaving like this. For frequency greater than 0, it had positive 1, and for frequency lesser than 0, it had negative 1. But again, this entire negative value right now flips because of this modulus operator. Because just because of this modulus operator, this entire negative part jumps onto the, like, on the upper half, such that we'll have only this sort of plot right now. So we'll have only positive portion. So this is what this modulus operation is doing. So this is modulus of h of f, or we can call this as magnitude part. Magnitude plot of transfer function h of f, of transfer function h of f. And on the other hand, we do also have what? The phase part, or we can call this as phase plot of, again, h of f. Now phase part is actually governed by this negative j value thing. So phase is something that which only deals with the angle. So here we all know that how exactly h of f behaves, and just because of this j, we'll right now rewrite it as what? Positive 90 and negative 90 over here. And just in order to indicate this phase, we are using the term arg. Arg is used to represent what? Phase. Okay, so this is the magnitude response and phase response of Hilbert transform. Whenever you are asked to explain Hilbert transform, you are supposed to write all these things. So this system may be considered as one that produces phase shift of negative 90 degree for all positive frequencies. So that which is, you can just see this thing that for positive frequency, so this part, if I consider this part, so for positive frequencies, what's the phase associated with it? It's equal to negative 90 degree. So for positive frequencies, it should create any frequency value that which is greater than 0 or positive in nature. It brings in what amount of phase shift? 90 degree phase shift. Likewise, so 90 degree phase shift for all positive frequencies, and positive 90 degree for all negative frequencies. So this axis represents the negative frequency value. So for negative frequencies, what's the phase associated with that? It's positive 90. So this entire thing, any frequency value that which is negative in nature, so this Hilbert transform phase shifts it by positive 90 degree. So positive 90 degree for all negative frequencies. So whatever is written in graphically, we are trying to rewrite that in terms of sentence. That's it. So the amplitudes of all frequency components in the signal, however, are unaffected by transmission through the device. Such an ideal system is referred as Hilbert transformer or quadrature filter. It's also called as quadrature filter. Now let's go through a few properties of this Hilbert transform. So the very first property is a signal. If I consider any input signal x of t and its Hilbert transform, both will have, so this is signal x of t and its Hilbert transform is x cap of t. So they both have same magnitude spectrum. So here the magnitude of j signum of f is equal to 1 for all frequencies. So therefore x of t and x cap of t have the same amplitude spectrum over here. So we all know that x of f is in turn equal to x cap of f is in turn equal to x of f into h of f, and h of f is negative j signum of f. Now here we are speaking only about what kind of spectrum? It's magnitude spectrum. We got to concentrate on this. So magnitude spectrum. In order to get magnitude spectrum, what operator should I apply? I should apply modulus operator. I should apply modulus operator. So just by applying modulus operator, so it so happens that the effect, even though I'm having signum function, but still I'll have whatever negative quantity that I'm having flips to positive value. So thereby x cap of t and in turn x of t both will have. So both x cap of f and x of f will have same magnitude spectrum. So this is our very first property. And let's go take up our second property. If x of t is Hilbert transform of x of t, then Hilbert transform of x of t is negative x of t. So here, in order to see this, so here it's the statement. The statement is like, if I make x of t to go through Hilbert transform, right now I'll be considering two such Hilbert transform blocks. If I make some signal x of t to go through two Hilbert transform blocks, then whatever output signal that I get, it will be equal to negative x of t. So if I make some input signal x of t to go through two cascaded Hilbert transformers, whatever output equation, whatever output signal that I will get, it will be of same nature of x of t, but associated with negative sign. So if a signal is made to pass through this h of t, what will be my intermediate output that I'll be getting here? It's x cap of t. And if I make this x cap of t to again go through one more Hilbert transform block, what I'll get here? I'll get x cap of t along with one more cap. So here I got to write one more cap, because a single Hilbert transformer will make one cap to appear over here, and one more, because of one more Hilbert transformer block, will have two such caps. So x double cap of t is in turn equal to negative x of t. So this is the meaning of this second property. If x cap of t is Hilbert transform of x of t, then Hilbert transform of x cap of t, Hilbert transform of x cap of t is in turn equal to negative x of t. So now let's try to prove this. So they have generally made some statement over here, but let's prove this. So property number 2. So in property number 2, we all know that it states that x double cap of t is in turn equal to negative x of t. So we got to prove this. So for time being, let's consider x of t to be equal to some cos function, cos omega t. So only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to consider some value for some function for input signal. And right now, what input signal that I'm considering? I'm considering cosine function, cosine omega t. So this is the thing. Now to this signal, if I pass this x of t to go through an Hilbert transformer, I'll get x cap of t. I'll get x cap of t. And what this actually does, it changes its phase by 90 degree. It changes all the frequency component of x of t by plus or minus degree, depending upon whether it's having, for positive frequencies, it brings in negative 90-degree phase shift, and for negative frequencies, it will bring in positive 90-degree phase shift. But how can I determine whether what component of cos function is negative or what component of cos is positive? So this is quite difficult. So for that, in order to simplify that, what I'll do is I'll not consider cos function in time domain. So this is in time domain. So analyzing this cos function in time domain is difficult. So what I'll do is I'll change the domain from time to frequency. 39, you're having any doubt? If you are having any doubt, you can interrupt me. Okay. What doubt you are having? Someone raise their hand in between. If you are having any doubt, please do interrupt me. Unmute your mic. Is this screen visible? Guys, is the screen visible? If so, please do type S in the chat. Okay, well. Okay, because the analysis in time domain is quite difficult over here, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change domain. So from time domain, I'll jump on to frequency domain. And what happens in frequency domain? So in order to jump from time domain to frequency domain, what should I make use of? What transform am I supposed to make use of? I'm supposed to make use of Fourier transform. And what's the Fourier transform of cos function? We all know that if cos omega t is in time domain, its Fourier transform is 1 by 2 within the brackets delta f minus f naught plus delta f plus f naught. And how exactly this thing looks like? So cos omega t, if I make it to go through Fourier transform, it's equal to 1 by 2 delta function f minus f naught plus f plus f naught. So what is this delta? We all know that delta is impulse function. Impulse function, that which is defined only at, because right now this impulse function is in frequency domain. So I'll consider frequency axis. So impulse function is something like this. Delta of f, that which is defined only at frequency value equal to 0. But right now, am I having just f? No, I'm having one more component, that which is negative f naught over here. So what does this mean? So this means that it has been shifted. It has been frequency translated. It has been frequency translated signal. Translation is nothing but moving this signal. Translation is moving the same signal. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to shift the signal, that which was earlier centered around some frequency 0, to some other frequency, say f naught. And in what direction I'm trying to shift this? I'm trying to shift this signal in right direction. right direction. So because of this negative sign, if I'm having this negative sign in between, it indicates right shift. It indicates right shift. Okay. So delta f minus f naught is this. Let's say if this is frequency value equal to 0 and this is some frequency value equal to f naught. So this is where my impulse response is defined. So this is delta f minus f naught. Likewise, what can be the other term be? So this is delta f plus f naught. So if negative is right shift, what is positive then? This positive sign indicates left shift. So I can think of this delta f plus f naught as again frequency translated signal, but the translation is in what direction right now? In left direction. So if the same signal is moved or translated in left direction such that I am trying to bring it around some negative frequency value, negative f naught. So that's the second term. If I were to plot it, I'll get it as again zero frequency, and right now this is some negative frequency. Let me consider some negative frequency minus f naught. So this is impulse function that is centered around f naught frequency. Now if I add these two, if I add these two and divide that entire thing by 2, I'll get cosine function in frequency domain. So this is 0, this is f naught, this is negative f naught. So negative half f minus f naught, negative half impulse function f plus f naught. So this is as good as what? Cosine. This is cosine. This is cosine function. So the same cosine function, how it looks in your time domain, cosine function in your time domain starts at t is equal to 0. Its amplitude value will be 1 and gradually it will decrease. And somewhere at 90 degree, cosine 90 is 0. So this is one full cycle. This is one full cycle of cos omega t in time domain. This is in time domain, entirely different domain. So this is in frequency domain. The same signal. I'm trying to plot same signal. But the only thing is this is in frequency domain. This is in time domain. So keeping this in mind, here